Imagine you're in a class, you have two classrooms, okay? Do you understand what I'm talking about? That was probably the worst analogy I've ever heard, not gonna lie. We just do not have a voter fraud problem in this country. Funnily enough, one of the things that makes the vote counting process seem incredibly archaic and inefficient is actually the thing that makes it very secure. Tom Scott has a really, really, really good video on why we can't do electronic voting, why it's incredibly dangerous. But the basic gist of it is making every single vote have to contain a slip of actual physical paper that a physical human being has to write on and check means that getting away with fraud is unbelievably difficult. With a computer system, a changing of a couple of numbers behind the scenes is all it takes. If everything is logged on the computer, everything can be changed on the computer. A good example of a difference would be like if you I'm trying to think. A good example would be like, imagine you're in a class, you have two classrooms, okay? And both of the classrooms have a ball in them, but they're made of different materials. One of the classrooms is a sculpture classroom, and there is a clay ball about a foot in diameter. And in the other classroom, everyone is sharing like the same Unity account, working on like a CG ball, you know? So you have the same foot diameter ball in both classrooms. One of them is managed digitally, can be managed through any one of like dozens of computers in the classroom, and the other one is just in the center of a large room with everyone looking at it. It would be impossible to make any alterations at all to the clay ball without other people noticing. It's not possible. Even if you distracted everyone for like got them to turn away from the big clay ball, like your handprint on it would be noticeable. There's no way with the tactility of the medium that you could disguise your alterations without other people noticing. But if everyone's just logged in on Unity or whatever, like if you could distract people for just an incredibly short length of time, you could make any number of alterations that would be completely untraceable, outside of obviously like checking the alteration log, but that wouldn't really be applicable if you're talking about hacking. Do you understand what I'm talking about? Somebody just said tactility isn't a word. Suck my dick. Tactility, the capability of being felt or touched, responsiveness to stimulation of the sense of touch. You guys have me so self-conscious about the way I use language, but 90% of the time I feel like when I use these words, they exist and I use them correctly. People just don't like it. That was probably the worst analogy I've ever heard, not gonna lie. Well, a lot of it has to do with like scaling. It's about scaling and like where does the information go, you know? Like imagine what it would take to get rid of 1,000 Biden votes if you're talking about like a digital log. Well, all you would really need to do is gain access to the server or whatever like subsystems or backups or security measures there are, and after that you can make whatever alterations you want. If there's like a USB drive that's just sitting around somewhere in an election office where people are uploading the info, if it goes over the internet, and God forbid it goes over the internet, holy shit, that makes it vulnerable. There are like a lot of ways to make really big alterations. But the thing is, like 1,000 ballots in a traditional ballot system, those are literal physical ballots that have to be physically handled, physically carried from one place to another. If they are to be disposed of, they have to be physically gotten rid of. And that means they have to be dumped or burned somewhere. Stuff like that is pretty easy. I mean, at the very least, there is quite literally a paper trail, you know? How does the ballot counting actually work? Like, where's the vote count stored after all the papers are scanned in or entered or whatever? The information is logged. I think it depends on state by state, but generally speaking, I think, you have these vote counting offices that are given responsibility for the output of some areas. And I don't know if it's done by like county or if it's done by like voting ballot place. I don't know how they're separated exactly, but once they have the designations done, they do their counting there, and then the counting has to be done and certified with members of both parties present. So like everything has to be observed and then signed off on with Democrat and Republican voting officials present, I think. And with them both present, they have a tamper-proof box with like the accredited results that are then like securely delivered to a central location where everything is added together, I think. Yeah, I think, yeah. Should we keep paper vote then? Yeah, we should. Yeah. What about hybrid system where the vote is stored in a card or something? I think right now, like, I know that our current vote counting system is a mess, but we have basically no voter fraud, so I think I'm okay with this system. Like, it feels really messy, but in a way, like, the mess. Okay, messy means evidence, right? Like, things that are clean because they're very simple to clean up. Messiness means you leave evidence. There are checks and balances and people and physical things involved everywhere. Um, you know? And yeah, I think yeah. Is there evidence for voter fraud in computerized systems? Yeah. I don't know. It's not done in the US for like federal elections or whatever, but there are tons of examples of online like polls that have been duped in a billion ways. And I think the problem is like the methods by which you would dupe any kind of online system don't really change if you're talking about it being done for a federal election. There would just be that much more security to get through. But like the basic underlying methods would remain fundamentally the same. It's just a matter of attacking whatever points of weakness there are and making alterations that are credible enough that they won't like prompt a recount, but still lead to a big systemic change. The video literally presupposes machines owned by the private market with non-transparent code and plugged to the internet. Excuse me. Uh, no, I don't think so. First of all, any voting machines in the United States, if we did do electronic voting, would be privately owned. I'm afraid that is just a fact of the matter. As for whether or not they make their code transparent, I don't know why a private company would be obligated to do so, but even if you made it transparent, what is that going to mean to the average person? And the criticisms that Tom Scott made aren't just if they're plugged into the internet. Messy is often just a pejorative for granularity. Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. Granularity in this case is desirable. What about a co-op? Just hypothetically, would that fix the problem here? No, I do not think this is a problem that can be fixed by a cooperative. Again, I genuinely think that our current system works. Like people in chat are trying to correct it, but our current system produces essentially no voter fraud, at least not any statistically significant amount. So in this case, yeah, the process of vote counting is fine. Granularity isn't a word either, lol. Are you kidding? You guys are getting owned today. Hearing over.